Hello everyone. I'm Yumi from the American Democracy Channel. We are working from Florida to protect the freedom and rights of the United States. We look forward to your support. I would be very happy if you could subscribe to the channel. In Florida, it's Saturday, January 16th. Since the riots at the Houses of Parliament on January 6, Biden's attack on Mr. Trump has been so successful that I have lost the energy to make videos for the past week. I think those who have believed in Trump's counterattack will be quite disappointed. On the contrary, the Biden side who rubbed the responsibility for this riot on Mr. Trump must be said to be splendid. They first put the press on their side and let the news flow at their convenience. Those who regularly believe in these mass media, including parliamentarians, were strongly convinced that it was done by Mr. Trump and his supporters. And they carefully planned the riot as the greatest opportunity for Mr. Trump to call for a meeting in Washington, D.C. on the 6th. The plan was as successful as the picture, and was able to pull Mr. Trump to the second impeachment trial. The impeachment trial is scheduled to take place in the Senate after the 19th, but the impeachment will not be successful without the approval of 2/3 of the members. Since 20th is the new president's inauguration day, I think that the trial itself can be started, but I think that you already know that Pelosi says that she will continue deliberations even if Mr. Trump is no longer president. I can hear Biden's laughter. It is reported that the abuse and slander to those who participated in the rally on the 6th are getting bigger day by day, and many people are dismissed from their jobs. Mr. Trump's words and deeds that had been vigorous so far were hidden, and he appealed to his supporters so as not to cause a riot on the day of the new president's inauguration. It only looks like he is sunk in a riot, taking responsibility for himself, but Jay, is there any good news?
Yes. Clayton Kearns, a political media journalist called Trending Politics, wrote an article about the perpetrators of the riots on the 6th. John Sullivan, a left-wing activist, was one of the people who instigated Trump supporters and ignited the riots, although the plan's mastermind is still unknown. He has already been charged with trespassing the Capitol from federal prosecutors, inciting civil turmoil, and violent or chaotic acts on the premises of the Capitol. He was also found to have been interviewed by CNN and MSNBC on the night of the 6th of the riot. He entered the Capitol to record the actions of Trump supporters and was interviewed as the photographer at the moment Ashley Babbitt was shot. The FBI says his actions upset the crowd, instigated violence, and led directly to the shooting of Ashley Babbitt.
That's right. Maybe he alone didn't instigate this riot. I think many leftist activists are still involved, but what about?
That's right. There have been quite many arrests already, so I think this kind of announcement will continue. Interestingly, even CNN, who is critical of Mr. Trump, has deliberately taken photos and videos reported in the mass media on January 6, as if supporters had taken the lead in the riots. It says that it has become, for example, a video of a riot instigator breaking through a window in the Capitol actually means that Trump supporters were trying to stop the instigator's actions, but such a scene is not recorded in the video. The video says that the instigator was not intentionally shown, and that only Trump supporters were shown. The FBI also seems to have evidence that the instigators were sneaking into the White House rally and only they left the rally early and headed for the Capitol.
So the federal prosecutor's office already knows that the riot wasn't due to Trump's supporters. But the lack of mass media to report it properly means that no one knows this, right?
Yes, this is fatal to Mr. Trump. The public sees it as a coup d'état by President Trump. That is, he tried to trick the public for fraud in the elections and then entice his supporters to stop counting the votes of the Electoral College. Other than Trump supporters, I think this is the truth. Biden first decided to win the election by fraud. However, when it got in the way and the fraud was about to become public, he bought and blackmailed all the judges in the court and dismissed all the proceedings. And the third, in a play like Mr. Trump did this riot in the Capitol, withdrew Mr. Trump from the president, and if the impeachment was successful, from the world of politics. I think the Biden side sold their souls together so that the plan could be implemented successfully.
Mr. Trump has heard that since he was elected president, he knew that election fraud was always taking place and had been taking measures against it for the past 4 years. Why did Vice President Pence refuse to accept the Electoral College's vote from the fraudulent state when the court found that it would not review any proceedings against the fraud? Why he didn't declare executive order?
I think Mr. Trump has probably activated it. Or, I think I tried to give an order to the military and asked them to carry it out. However, the military may have refused to carry out this president. You can see that in a letter from the Joint Chiefs of Staff to the public on January 13. The letter aims to protect the security of the people by recognizing the resentment of the riots that took place on January 6 and the inauguration of Biden as president, who won the election in which the military took over the Constitution. It is written that the Army faithfully fulfills its mission. This is a completely military coup. The commander-in-chief of the Army is President Trump. Rejecting the order means that the Army is controlled by deep states. I think Mr. Trump couldn't do anything with this.
Is that so? I'm sorry. I think Mr. Trump was also disappointed. I have no choice but to understand that sad heart, but is there any way to reverse it?
I think Mr. Trump has definitely given up on the re-election of the president. That is clear when Secretary of State Pompeo announced on January 10 that it would remove the diplomatic barrier with Taiwan. This breaks the United States' long acceptance of China's one country, two systems, and treats Taiwan as a separate country from China. This is intended to prevent the Chinese Communist Party from advancing into Taiwan, which would result from Biden becoming president. The United States' treatment of Taiwan as a separate country will protect Taiwan from the threat of China by recognizing Taiwan as an ally at the request of Taiwan and concluding a security treaty.
That's right. I hope Japan will treat Taiwan as a different country from China based on this decision by the United States. Then, in today's news, Fox News reported that it would release confidential documents of Obamagate who tried to impeach the president. Is this part of that?
Yes, this is a conspiracy organized by former President Obama in an attempt to dismiss the President Trump. Former Lieutenant General Michael Flynn was involved in the plot when he said Mr. Trump was elected with the backing of Russia, forcing him to live a long trial of 4 years. In this case, the plot was unsuccessful with no evidence found, but Lieutenant General Flynn, who was slammed, was almost as if he had shook his life. As you all know, in November of last year, he was finally freed by the president's amnesty. Then, while the national strategy is generally sealed as a confidential matter for 30 years and not open to the public, Mr. Trump has made the CCP strategy open to the public. I think this is open to the public for refereeing so that this strategy can continue even after the new president takes office. Looking at these recent developments, I was convinced that Mr. Trump would resign from his presidency on the afternoon of the 20th. I'm sorry.
I am also very disappointed. I am worried that the United States in the future will be hindered by the politics that the Chinese Communist Party is doing from above. In future elections, the one who cheats will win, and the number of people who go to the election will be limited. Perhaps on the Biden side, those who do not come to vote are welcome and the vote will be theirs. What will this country look like in the future due to Biden's bad politics?
The government will grow huge, and the benefits of low-income people who do not work will increase, and they will raise taxes to fill their financial resources and take away everyone's money. And even so, high inflation will begin by filling in the gaps by issuing bonds such as government bonds. This kind of socialism is surprising that there are leaders who aim for socialism and that there are few people who support it, even though some countries have already proved its failure.
I absolutely hate becoming a socialist nation, but can anyone do something about it?
Mr. Trump told us in his speech the other day. The long journey has just begun. He told us not to give up and keep walking until we achieved our goal. That is, he has a way to regain power. We believe in his words and want Mr. Trump to guide us on the path to defeat the evil empire that is about to begin. It may be the launch of a new political party. It is a group of people who can wipe out the corrupt politicians of today and create a true democracy that does not pursue interests. It's a true democratic government with a parliament that can correct injustice as injustice, and judges who can judge it without giving in to pressure from anyone. Let's have Mr. Trump do his best so that the administration can take a large number of seats in 2 years. And 4 years later, let's lead his administration and return to the president to free this society from the current control of deep states.
I agree. As a first step towards that, I would like to commend him for his excellent achievements as president over the last 4 years. Economic recovery and improvement through reconciliation policy, drastic tax cut, drastic increase in domestic employment and dramatic improvement in non-employment rate, blockade of illegal immigrants and illegal drugs by construction of Mexican border wall. Stepping stone to Middle East peace. He has made countless contributions to the United States, including peeling off the ghosts of goodness and striving to prevent world hegemony. He was our great president.
That's right. It was really a hardship and I look forward to his future success. We pledge to fight with him to protect this democracy in the United States.
That's all for today. Let's keep with you the feeling of never giving up. Goodbye until the next opportunity.